those exact deliverables will be, no one knows for sure. We cannot force development. We can't force new restaurants and shops to open, but we can lay the groundwork so that these things can happen. And I think that that's what we are looking to accomplish, and I think that we will see some of those things come to fruition, which is very exciting. As a person who's from Montgomery County, who's seen that area languish for quite some time in what potentially could happen there. Did want to talk a little bit about our most recent education meeting dealing with artificial turf. The committee did vote to approve the appropriation of $1.3 million to allow for private funds to pay for an artificial turf stadium field at MCPS Winston Churchill High School. The key is that the council actually added some language that we felt was important for us, and I'll read it in its entirety because I think that it's very important, because I think it sends a strong message of how the council, along with MCPS, is collaborating together in hearing some of the concerns that were addressed at the public hearing. And it says in the PDF that was approved today, MCPS must report the results of the infill bid process to the council after bid results are received, and the council must review the results before the board awards a contract for field installation. In essence, basically what we're saying is we've heard a lot of conversations about what this infill will be, what its implications on the community, on the environment, heat aspects when it comes to our children. All of those things matter, and so we really want to take a look at this before you move forward. So we're going to let you continue with the bidding process because we don't want to hold that part up, but we really want to be partners with you in trying to make a decision that's going to be in the best interest of all of our kids. And I think that MCPS's willingness and their non-resistance to this language represents that we continue to work together in partnership to try and deliver on the things that are important. We also asked for some key information, and some of that you heard Councilmember Branson espouse today, which was a concern for her regarding procurement practices. That's something that this county, and you've heard from me numerous times, has been very concerned about when it comes to small minority disadvantaged businesses. And so as a part of a much larger context, our Office of Legislative Oversight is actually coming out and releasing their report tomorrow. We will also have Government Operations and Fiscal Policy, which will take this up in September and talk in much greater detail about procurement practices, not only for MCPS, but throughout the entire county. And I think that we will see some legislation that I've already been drafting in coordination with Councilmember Navarro, Councilmember Leventhal, and Councilmember Branson to address some of the things that we saw with the most recent disparity study that was recently released and some of the concerns we had there. Many of these things were highlighted at the very beginning of the year when I told you that small business was a concern of mine and that I would be posing legislation. Timing and data is always important, and so it's great to be able to have this data to reinforce the need, and so we'll be moving forward with legislation in the fall. Did want to talk a little bit about our new members, and I want to welcome, while he's council member-elect, Tom Hucker, who's here with me today. I invited him to be here. I also extended an invitation to Mayor Katz, council member-elect Mayor Katz as well. We're very excited to have both of them joining us and being a part of the team. Why don't you come on up here, Tom? Come on up. Sorry to put you on the spot. Please have a seat. I'm very happy to have them join us, and it's great because they've already started rolling up their sleeves and getting more involved, asking for packets, working with staff, with Mr. Farber, so that they'll be able to hit the ground running. One of the biggest challenges that I saw coming into this job new was the tremendous learning curve, even being a seasoned veteran when it comes to being a legislator. there's so much more that you need to learn and know. And so it's great to be able to seize the opportunity and take advantage of this time, understanding that he's unopposed in the general, as well as Mayor Katz is. And so from that aspect, we can assume without some massive write-in campaign, and that's not going to happen, that they will be joining us. And so with that, we're very excited and very happy to see them really getting more involved in the process throughout these next couple months. With that, I did want to turn it over to you for any additional questions, but keep in mind over the summer, while we are approaching recess, the council will be very, very busy with a number of different initiatives that we're working on, and we'll continue to make sure that we move forward in ensuring that if, in fact, we do solidify our vote on White Oak, which I anticipate tomorrow, we'll be able to do that before we go into our moratorium on votes. That is a concern of ours, that we want to make sure from a time process perspective that we avoid that challenge as well. Tom, did you want to say anything?
I don't have anything in mind, Craig, but thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to, I appreciate Steve and all the staff that have been supplying us with the packets and the other information. I'm looking forward to hopefully hitting the ground running. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll turn it over to you guys for questions.
Craig, has the county, so far as you know, been approached by the O'Malley administration in any way, shape, or form to respond to the unaccompanied minor situation?
I have not been made aware of any conversations between the governor's office and this council regarding unaccompanied minors. I mean, I think that part of the assumption is that Montgomery County continues to be a humanitarian focus and supportive environment, and I think the governor knows that. I'm not sure what that would translate into him having the necessity of a conversation with us, but keep in mind, there have been no specific conversations, as I think that, in my opinion, I really wouldn't want something like that talked about in the public. One of my concerns when it comes to the unaccompanied minors conversation has continued to be, now that I'm serving on the Human Trafficking Task Force, I would not want to highlight where any children are. We just recently heard the tragic case of the young woman who was in foster care that was abducted by two men that had sought her out on Instagram and sexually assaulted her. These are children, and I wouldn't want any highlighted visibility being drawn to some of these children that might be seen as potential victims. And so I would hope that any conversations weren't highlighted in the sense of really highlighting their visibility as prey.
But if asked, would for a specific facility, because any school teacher in this county will tell you that there are kids here who are unaccompanied minors, would you welcome a central facility for kids to get housing and services, etc.?
Well, I don't even think that's our decision to make. I mean, I think that, there are property owners that have those decisions to make. There's security.
Commissioners felt they had to make a statement.
When they're in opposition to something, it's a little bit of a different story. And I think that there's a fundamental difference that might have been there as well. For Montgomery County, like you said, we already do have unaccompanied minors that are here in this county. We understand that that's always been our policy to be, again, very welcoming and humanitarian in terms of our support. And so from that aspect, we will continue to do that. We continue to maintain the same focus that we've always had. Nothing has changed here in Montgomery County in terms of our policy.
And I don't want to belabor it, but I know Governor is talking about that issue today in Annapolis. So again, has he been in touch with you to say, look, this is what I'm talking about, these are my concerns?
Not with myself as council president, but again with County Executive Leggett being kind of the arm that most likely would, if there would be somebody that he'd reach out to, knowing again our policy and where the council stands on these types of issues. I think that would probably be the direction that he would take. Again, not assuming for the governor and how he makes his decisions.
So the discussion tomorrow on this issue, what is the council hoping to get out of that? What are you hoping to get out of that?
Well, I think overall, we just want to understand where we are. We know that we do have unaccompanied minors that are here. We want to make sure that their needs are being met and that we aren't being overburdened in terms of what we're able to do. Our stories and anecdotes up to this point have all been positive. They've been extremely supportive in terms of understanding what it is that we're looking to accomplish, which is, again, to be very humanitarian and open and welcoming, while at the same time making sure we're adhering to state and federal policies as well. That's our goal. That's our charge. And so we'll continue to do that. But, you know, we want to get a greater understanding and what the implications of what federal action might mean in terms of what it is that we're doing and we're trying to do. Whether or not we can seek additional resources. Now that I understand that additional money is being allocated, can we not tap into some of those additional resources that we've been utilizing county resources to this point and might be able to help us in terms of our budgeting aspects. So those are all things that I think we'll get a greater understanding of and help us keep moving forward.
Is this something that was on your radar prior to this situation happening down at the border, or is that kind of spurring this conversation?
Well, it was actually brought to my attention by Councilmember Navarro, so I can't tell you what the impetus was for her. She brought that to my attention as council president, and then I decided to schedule the briefing because I did feel as though it was a warranted issue, regardless of whether the incident was happening at the border or not. Like I said, again, with us understanding that we do have unaccompanied minors that are here, that we are taking care of and making sure that they're going to school and all those kinds of things, we wanted to make sure that they're incorporated and we have a good understanding of the services that are being provided and that we're doing all that we can to provide that humanitarian effort.
On the soccer situation, the folks at MSI just spoke to us downstairs and said, look, we're tired of providing services countywide to every kid at every school we possibly can, while someone else comes in and gets the best fields for a very small and select group of students. It was clearly unfair. They were misled on the bids. How do you respond to that?
I mean, that's one person's assertion. I haven't looked at the facts of the case, so I really can't comment as to whether or not that actually happened in their bidding process. The way we look at it is that you have an entity that feels aggrieved and feels as though they have the justification to go to court about it. And so they now have a case that's pending. A judge or a jury will decide what the outcome of that case is. But by no means does that keep us from continuing to build fields in Montgomery County that will service our students. That's our major job, is to service our students and our children here in Montgomery County, not to the companies. So from that aspect, while I do understand and respect the partnership that MSI has continued and retained with this county, they've been a valuable one, but we don't get into fights between private entities that say, oh, I should have been awarded this contract versus another. If there was some sort of law that was violated, that was passed by the council that they didn't adhere to, or a state law that was violated, that's up to a court to decide, and we'll certainly make the decision on that. And then if it's something that's an overarching policy that we find as a result of this court case needs to be changed or needs to be revisited, then we can take a look at that as well. But we have to let the court findings come out first, because beyond that, it really is just one assertion from one to another.
So again, you can move forward on Winston Churchill Field. Yes, that can be approved.
Absolutely. And the reason why is because if MSI is demanding to play on the field, why should we hold up the field if in fact it's going to service the kids? So, let it play out. And if in fact, a court could always decide that the partnership that MCPS entered into with this other entity is null and void. And they could also then say it needs to be rebid, or it could go to that party that's the complainant. All of those things could happen as a result of the court case, but it has no impact on the field. And so I think that from the field aspect, we address the concerns that we heard from the community at the public hearing regarding the safety of the infill, and that's why we have that language in that says we need to revisit this once the bids have come back from the vendors to make sure that the infill is exactly what we, the community, and everybody feels is going to be safe for our kids.
Craig, you mentioned that you might revisit this if there's an issue at the end of this court case, with the policies. But does the council have any authority there over that? I mean, we've seen
No, we
bad
don't.
policies before with the school board,
Sure.
credit cards. Never know.
Well, no, but that's actually a great, Kate, that's actually a great example. And the reason why that's a great example is because we saw a decision that the council really wanted the school system to end up moving forward to. And so I think that this newfound relationship that we've been able to foster between MCPS and the council has been one in which we've started talking about issues, and it's not telling anybody what to do. It's saying and working in concert together to say, hey, this is probably a better way for you to go on this. This is what we're hearing from the community. I'm sure you're hearing it as well. Let's mirror these things together and come up with something that's going to work in the best interest of everyone. And I think that that's what we can see that could potentially happen in this case. I joked at the beginning of the year, and I'm sure many of you will remember, I keep telling folks, I'm not the guy who's going to hit you over the head with a hammer. I'm the guy that's going to continue to ask you, let's talk about this and make sure that we're all on the same page. And I do believe that does work, that us having a conversation, that us working together can be the way that we get stuff done. It doesn't just have to be through threats and saying that we're going to hold up your budget or we're going to do, those kinds of things don't always work and haven't been effective in the past. Let's move forward with a new way of doing things. Let's be partners together, understanding that we all have roles to play in terms of how we can best move us forward.
Are you saying that the board would not have acted the way it did without your urging or quiet diplomacy or whatever?
All I'm saying is that I think that helps. It certainly helps. Having a relationship, I've seen it in Annapolis, and that's where I learned that relationships matter. And so establishing those kinds of working relationships with folks, I've seen make a difference. I've seen it make bills pass versus bills fail. And I think that in these cases, I think that those relationships have helped us to become better when it comes to outcomes for our kids.
You took a lot of straw votes on White Oak last week, and now this is kind of the formalizing of the process. Are you anticipating anything coming up tomorrow, or smooth sailing straight through?
I think there are a couple issues regarding White Oak Shopping Center itself, and so we'll need to work on some specific language there. We had asked our staff to draft some particular language about that, and so we'll need to make sure that that's honed. But beyond that, I see no major issues or hiccups at this point. Just the simple fact that the straw vote was the way it was is very, I think, promising for us being able to continue to move forward without any hiccups tomorrow.
With future plans, are you hoping to not have to crunch like this? I mean, are we seeing a new pattern? Have you proved that, we don't need all that time to do it, we can just go for it?
Well, no, I mean, there was a lot of back work. Look, White Oak has been worked on for a very, very long time just because it was before this council. And keep in mind that the number of work sessions that the Planning, Housing, Economic Development Committee did when the remainder of council committees were not meeting was immense. And so I have to thank Chair Florine as well as members Leventhal and Elrich for their great work, because they've really rolled up their sleeves and worked very, very hard to bring something to this council that, again, allowed us to be able to work through the process very smoothly and quickly. If they hadn't done and put in all of that groundwork, and then, of course, staff, which always does a phenomenal job at being able to address a lot of the issues that we hear in public hearings, that we hear in work sessions through comments. I mean, this took a lot of work. And so, the fact of the matter that it actually ended up being a little bit quicker is a testament to folks really working hard, knowing that this was a matter of urgency for us to, again, deliver something to an area that's been waiting for a very long time.
So Craig, you may have heard that the Silver Line opened
I was actually down there.
So there's been some discussion. I think you guys got a memo from Gus Bauman, kind of in which he was raising the question of, well, he said the economic future of our region is increasingly concentrating on blue and orange and now silver lines. We must be candid with ourselves. Except for Silver Spring, Montgomery County has no place today that can realistically compete with the tensions and diverse demands of the all-important, that we calls it blue generation. So, I mean, is the Silver Line giving you any pause about what what you guys should be doing to make yourselves more competitive?
Look, I think that if you solely think that your competitive is linked to a metro line, then yes, then that would give me pause. But I don't think that at all. I think that, and I've been very vocal in terms of my assertions that regional hubs are linked not only by mass transit, but also by roads, and will continue to be so. And so while we do need to focus on making sure that we can build up things like the Quarter City Transitway as a priority, our bus rapid transit, the Purple Line, all of those kinds of things will matter. What also matters is roads and road infrastructure. And so the widening of 270, the county executive and I met with Congressman John Delaney last week, and one of the things we talked about was continued federal support for a number of projects in Montgomery County. Montgomery County is not resting on its laurels, so let me be very, very clear that while, yes, there is certainly always a competitive concern when it comes to regional infrastructure that happens outside of your jurisdiction and what that might mean for you. By no means does this mean that Montgomery County lays down and says, oh, well, we're done, we're finished. By no means. We continue to see expansive and record growth in Frederick, in Howard, in Charles, areas all around that will continue to happen, and it will really grow us as a region. One of the reasons why I started the Washington Metropolitan Regional Council chairs to talk about these particular issues and how we grow as a region, not just individually in little pockets. And so I think while it is important for us to remember and focus on mass transit, I also think that the reality is we will need our roads, and we'll continue to fight for that funding as well.
Councilmember-elect, is it Councilmember-elect or just you're still you want to talk about this a little bit?
I haven't seen the memo, so I look forward to reading it, but it sounds a little unfair to me, but I look forward to reading it.
There's been some people who have said that until the Silver Line was done, Purple Line didn't have a chance of getting the traction it needed. How do you feel about that? Do you feel that now that the Silver Line's out of the way, the county can begin its big push with Metro and the federal government to really move this?
Well, I think that overall, I mean, when you look at transit priorities and the competition that's out there, you've still got the Red Line, you've still got CCT, which is vying for dollars as well. And while the commitment hasn't been there for CCT, at least in new starts as it has with the Red Line or Purple Line, the key is that these dollars are dollars. They're all dollars that are competing to support transit projects. And so it will be important for us to continue to press to make sure that these things happen. I think that there's no question that people will continue to press for both Quarter City Transitway and for the Purple Line here in Montgomery County. There is question as to now I've heard some concerns about the Red Line and what's going on with that, and some waning support. So that might free up additional dollars as well, and that's always been a part of everyone's conversation is that if these dollars all of a sudden become available, it could mean potential for us to move forward with our projects even more quickly because they are ready to go. And I think that again speaks to where Montgomery County and its foundation has been in terms of making sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's when it comes to these kinds of things and being lined up for federal support, knowing that it's a seize the moment kind of opportunity. And so I think that we're prepared and poised should something happen in terms of the Red Line, that we'd be able to seize that opportunity.
Can you elaborate on the red line, what you mean by there are questions about the red line?
Yes, yeah. Right, right. Yeah, yes, the Baltimore Red Line, I'm sorry, yeah.
Nick, you said you definitely are supportive of roads and projects and WTOP. We have to be concerned about that because those are our drivers. But what if you would say that that's the 20th century solution? You're going backwards there if you want to attract this Uber generation that loves the livable, walkable. They can hop from Silver Spring into the district if they want. They have their other infrastructure pre-made. And Frederick, a lot of people say they move to Frederick because they have that livable, walkable within Frederick. They don't want to do the, I love Frederick, but I actually live in Buckystown and it's 20 minutes out of my development anymore.
Well, so let me say this. I think that oftentimes people, and it's very advantageous to do so, want to pigeonhole folks and say that, okay, well, you're a part of this Uber generation, so therefore you don't drive, which isn't the reality, hence the popularity of our electric vehicle market that continues to grow exponentially. When you look at that and say to yourselves, well, you have a new breed of folks that will be coming into our traffic infrastructure that weren't there before, that might have ridden on Metro, seeing that as the only environmentally friendly alternative. Whereas now you can drive an electric vehicle and not contribute, greenhouse gas emissions and still get around and do all the things that you want to do. I will highlight that this weekend I actually rode Ride-On, which I do from time to time. Many of you who follow me on Twitter know. Just to take a look at what's going on, how our routes are going. And one of the things I've continuously told people is that it's a tremendous challenge. I can only imagine that if I myself, as well as my 3 kids and wife, were hopping on the Ride-On to try and go somewhere, to go out to dinner, whatever the case may be, all of us first would have to stand. That's the first thing. But on top of that, it takes a very, very long time to get around, and it requires a lot of pre-planning. And we've done a great job when it comes to the Ride-On apps and all the things that are out there that are phenomenal. But this isn't something that makes it easier for people, unfortunately. It's still a very difficult task to be able to get around via mass transit. And then, oh, by the way, transferring to a red line and hopping on the Metro to take an hour to get into the city. And then the cost associated with that, we actually priced it out, and for a family of 5 that went down to the Washington Auto Show, we would save $15 by driving and parking and paying to park in a parking garage. I'm not talking about taking the risk of using the meters versus riding the Metro. And that says something. I mean, that says something. So that's in one day if we did that. Imagine what that means for an entire year for a family who's relegated to those kinds of things. So one of the things that I always say about, look, so that takes the family picture out of it. But let's talk about young folks, because I continue to say, well, let's look at our high schools and the parking lots in our high schools, because those are kids, and they're driving. I haven't seen us reduce the need of parking spaces in our high schools. I've seen the need continue to increase. And so for folks who say that these new generations are ones that are totally detached from cars, well, I certainly see, and we want to provide alternatives and opportunities for people should they choose to use it. I don't see it as much of a waning aspect as some people would like to assert. What I do see is that we need to provide people with as many options as possible. If you want to bike to work, we need to be able to support that. If you want to take the Ride-On to work, we need to be able to support that. If you want to take the Metro to work, we need to be able to support that. But we also need to be able to support you driving, because the reality is that a majority of folks in this area will continue to drive on our roads. It's a strong note to close on. Well, guys, I want to thank you very much. I wish you a happy recess, and we'll reconvene in September. But always feel free to contact my office. I'd be more than happy to arrange comments for you. All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day.